Most squad announcements test the thinking and sanity of coaches to the limit, but it's safe to say that this particular England squad, announced in the UK this morning, probably had Eddie Jones wishing he had hair to tear out. Injuries have played a part in wiping out probable squad contenders, although in truth it's only Billy Vunipola out of the walking wounded who would have been a guaranteed starter. Then an epidemic of suspensions threatened to cause even more damage, and then there was the biggest brain teaser of all: to rest or not to rest those who were on the Lions tour. Throw in the rookies who made an impression on the Lions last tour to Argentina, and it was probably the hardest England squad to both pick and call in recent memory. Here are the names: Prop Dan Cole Leicester Tigers, Ellis Genge Leicester Tigers, Matt Mulland Wasps, Mako Vunipola Saracens, Harry Williams Exeter Chiefs, hooker Tom Dunn Bath Rugby, Jamie George Saracens, Dylan Hartley Northampton Saints, second row Charlie Ewells Bath Rugby, Nika Siegwe Saracens, Mara Itoyo Saracens, George Cruz Saracens, Joe Launchbury Wasps, Courtney Laws Northampton Saints, back row Tom Curry Sale Sharks, Nathan Hughes Wasps, Zach Mercer Bath Rugby, Chris Robshaw Harlequins, Sam Simmons Exeter Chiefs, Sam Underhill Bath Rugby, scrum half Danny Kerr Harlequins, Ben Youngs Leicester Tigers, flyer League of George Ford Leicester Tigers, Marcus Smith Harlequins, centre Owen Farrell Saracens, Piers Francis Northampton Saints, Jonathan Joseph Bath Rugby, Alex Lozovsky Saracens, Henry Slade Exeter Chiefs, back three Mike Brown Harlequins, Elliot Daly Wasps, Johnny May Leicester Tigers, Denny Solomona Sale Sharks, Anthony Watson Bath Rugby, denotes uncapped apprentice player not considered due to injury or suspension, Jack Clifford Harlequins, Luke Cowan-Dickey Exeter Chiefs, Joe Marler Harlequins, Jack Noel Exeter Chiefs, Kyle Sinclair Harlequins, Ben Teo Worcester Warriors, Mano Tuolagi Leicester Tigers, Billy Vunipola Saracens. In the end, Jones named the majority of the players who went on the Lions tour, with 10 of them set to rejoin the squad. 4 are unavailable: Noel and Teo through injury, Sinclair and Marler through suspension. Both are unavailable until the Samoa game, England's final match of the autumn. The only Lion to get no mention at all is James Haskell, previously a stalwart of the Jones era, but now left out as Jones looks to the next generation at open side. Other notable absentees include Marland Yard, who was dropped by Harlequins for missing the captain's run before the Champions Cup game against Wasps on Sunday, and Don Armand, fresh off a Twattery showing in Exeter's stunning win in Montpellier, arguably the form flanker in England and an ideal squad player for his ability to provide impact and cover all 3 back row positions. Instead, Jones has looked predominantly to youth, with the likes of Nick Isiekwe, Sam Underhill, Tom Curry, Sam Simmons, Zach Mercer, Marcus Smith and Ellis Genge, all players with the potential to hijack even the most meticulous of World Cup plans. It makes for an exciting squad, especially when, despite its youth, there are only 4 uncapped players included, 2 of which, Zach Mercer, son of former Kiwi international Gary Mercer, and Marcus Smith, the little thriller from Manila, are included as New Zealand-style apprentices and are not really being considered for matchday selection. But it does raise some interesting points about how England are perhaps approaching these 3 tests. Here, to me, are the main talking points. The march of the playmaker. There are no less than 6 players capable of playing fly half named in the squad, so it's safe to assume England are going to continue with their ploy of 2 playmakers at 10 and 12. In Argentina they took it even further, with Ford at number 10, Slade number 13 and Lozovsky and Francis getting a start each at number 12. Joseph is the only player among the centre options who brings something different if you consider that Daly is an option for the back 3 rather than his club position of outside centre, so it looks as if England are going to be looking to play with width this autumn. The lack of someone either in the starting lineup or on the bench to straighten play could end up a sticking point, though, and Eddie has made clear his wish for more size and power in England's backline, although in the absence of both Ben Teo and Mano Tuolagi it's not as if there are many big bruises knocking around. England will be looking to play then, but they can possibly be trapped, passing for the sake of passing, meters behind the gain line. Simon Cooper PA via up the fatties up front. Hooker is a position that needs options developed, but Eddie has been hampered by injuries to the 2 other hookers he has capped. Both Luke Cowan-Dickey and Tommy Taylor picked up injuries before the Argentina tour England embarked upon in the summer and have yet to return, with Cowan-Dickey due back shortly but Taylor out until the new year, leaving Edie short for Rakers. Tom Dunn would likely have been on the Argentina tour himself if he hadn't been injured and deserves his shot. Eddie's likened him to Dylan Hartley and HES not far off, only Dunn can actually carry effectively, pass a bit and doesn't get himself banned every few games. Elsewhere, there was strong talk that Mako Vunipola was to be rested after looking tired at times during the opening weeks of the season, although in fairness, I've always considered that his natural look, but Marla's suspension means that's unlikely to be the case. Expect him to bench behind the baby rhino, Ellis Gench, however. Gench has taken the Premiership by storm since his move to Leicester, and HES starting to have an impact in Europe too, just ask Castra. He emerged, alongside Harry Williams on the tight head side, from Argentina's Bajada assault over the summer with flying colours. He likes to scrum and he carries like a taipan's just bitten him on the arse, and the opposition are between him and the anti-venom. Many players have found themselves on the floor gazing up at the sky after attempting to tackle him. Williams should see plentiful game time on the opposite side too, although mainly as an impact replacement. He makes a decent enough fall for Singular in terms of his surprisingly deft handling and rumbling carries, although he lacks the kitchen sinks pretty startling for a fat lad pace. Dan Cole had one of the less draining summers carrying drinks for the Lions, but is still first choice from here out. However, expect him to come under increasing pressure from the two Tiros behind him. Lastly, it's probably not worth arguing anymore over who starts at number 2. It should be George, but it will be Hartley. I've made my peace with it. The age of the 5.5 from one set of 6 to another, this time involving locks. With so many of England's reliable thunderbolts out, Billy Vunipola, Singular, Teo, the slack has to be picked up elsewhere, and it looks as if Maro Itoye and Courtney Laws are being lined up as possible options on the blind side. Itoye is a lurking menace in the wide channels when playing at number 6, and Laws has made the permanent switch there for Northampton this season with aplomb, playing the house down even as his team burned all around him in 2 eye-watering defeats against Saracens and a frustrating loss to Clermont in the Champions Cup last weekend. Rob Shaw has been a fine servant for England, and Jones has become a convert after his scathing reviews of his ability during the ill-fated 2015 World Cup campaign, but he could now be a sacrificial lamb, at least until Big Bop and Billy returns, as England look to add firepower to a side that's been shorn of it. He could always be switched to the open side, but that would constitute a large volte-face on Eddie's part, and anyway, HES not guaranteed to get in there either, as well. See below. AAP image. Dave Hunt. You wait years for one open side to turn up. And then 2 come along at once. Tom Curry and Sam Underhill both made their test bows on the Argentina tour and both impressed in their differing styles. Curry is an all-action whirlwind, carrying, linking, tackling and jackling, while Underhill is a defensive wrecking ball, a savage, indefatigable tackler and a limpet over the ball at the breakdown. Both look to the manner born. More interestingly is Exeter's Sam Simmons, who plays at number 8 for Exeter but is on the small side by the modern behemoth standards of international rugby. He carries hard and is fearless in contact, but his main assets are his pace and footwork. The player he most reminds me of is a certain Michael Hooper. Eddie has said he may not think number 8 is his best position internationally, so it may be that helps another one being looked at to step into the open side berth. The emergence of so many promising players in the back row, the aforementioned apprentice Mercer odd that helps, considered an apprentice when HES older than both Isiekwe and Curry, mind, the other half of the Twindaloo Ben Curry, Will Evans, is probably the final nail in the international rugby coffin of the Archbishop of Banterbury himself, James Haskell. Left out of this squad, correctly, on grounds of form, it's looking a long way back to the international side, and a remarkable fall for someone who was good enough to be considered a Lions tourist in the summer, albeit he only came in to replace the injured B. Vunipola. A fine servant to English rugby, and Jones has said the door is never shut, but this feels like the beginning of the end for Haskell. What price for a backup number 9? Eddie, I can see it now. The week before the 2019 World Cup is due to kick off, Ben Youngs and Danny Kerr go down crocked. The only other scrum half Jones has capped as England coach was Jack Maunder, the young Exeter livewire who would otherwise have been playing for the U20s in Georgia, and he only got 2 minutes at the end of the first test against Argentina in the summer, playing his part in England's dramatic late victory. Otherwise it has been a diet of Youngs and Kerr and Youngs. Both are fine players, and there is little doubt they're the premier number 9s in England, but the lack of depth blooded behind them is startling, unless Eddie's thinking of sending for Richard Wigglesworth when the World Cup rolls around. This autumn would have been An excellent opportunity to involve a player like Dan Robson, bashing at the door for a couple of years now, or to start grooming Maunder, or another exciting player like Ben Vellacott at Gloucester or Ben Spencer at Saracens, properly. Instead, it's yet another series that will go by with no development in the depth of a key position. At Photokoji Sasahara, file. And what about back? 2 alongside scrum half-back is the position that has had the least attention paid to in Jones' tenure. At least at number 9 Youngs and Kerr have both been in good form. Mike Brown at the back though, has been up and down for a player supposedly all about consistency, and with the only other player to have started a game at number 15 for Eddie, Alex Good, now on the outer, it's a position that's crying out for more depth to be developed before the Japan Jamboree in 2 years' time. In fairness, a couple of things mitigate this. Brown seemed to rediscover his attacking spark in the second test against Argentina in the summer and took that into the Premiership with Harlequins, and it seems that the other options for back are to be found already in and around the squad. Eddie has made noises about wanting to see all of Daly, Jack Nowell and Anthony Watson in the number 15 shirt at some point. This autumn may be the time to test one of Daly or Watson out. Clutch juncture 2 years out from the World Cup then, and there are still plenty of questions to answer. Australia's win over New Zealand also adds spice to an autumn schedule that was lacking it, and all of a sudden it's gone from feeling relatively low-key to feeling very important indeed. This is a crucial juncture in Eddie Jones' tenure as England coach, with many of his established favourites now fighting for their rugby futures. Should be good. England's autumn schedule: England vs. Argentina, November 11th, England vs. Australia, November 18th, England vs. Samoa, November 25th.